all together.
Hello, and welcome to Covert Castaway. I'm Holly.
Je suis Stéphane.
Join us as we share what we learn and how we're making the transition to wingboard cruising.
All right. This week it is me talking to the microphone. Very, very weird to be talking to myself, especially since I haven't talked much in the last couple of weeks since Holly has been in Melbourne, Australia. I'm still in Tahoe, but I'm flying in a couple of days to Melbourne to join her. So looking forward to that moment. So today I'm recording a podcast to go over weather, navigation, routing, the equipment you need, and try to clarify a little bit a few things to maybe help with some of the confusion around all this equipment and applications. We'll do another one that will go into more details about the software that we chose for our Offshore 52, but that will be a separate podcast. This one is kind of setting the context. Just to step back on our Fontaine Peugeot Sauna 47, the equipment we had on board was a PepWave router. We had the Iridium Go. We have the Garmin chart plotter, and then we had an iPad with Navionics on it, the application Navionics. And we used the Iridium Go the first season because we had some passages that were 3 to 6 days, I think the longest that we did. The second season was mostly coastal cruising, and we didn't reactivate Iridium Go for that season. Sailing from Croatia, Greece to Turkey, we either had we were comfortable with the weather window, and also at times because of the PepWave router, and so through the cellular antenna, we were able to get when we were close to the coast. Assuming we were along the coast of the same country, we were able to pick up some cell coverage and being able to get some weather updates this way. So that's how we did it on our Sauna 47. The Garmin chart plotter and iPad Navionics, we will use both at the same time because they had different nautical charts. The Navionics app is very user-friendly, so it was great to set up a route. The second season, Holly took the time to input some waypoints into the Garmin chart plotter. It works, but it's really not super user-friendly. So for Offshore 52, we're going to use the same equipment. We're going to still use the PepWave router. We're going to use the Iridium Go. On Outremer, the chart plotter will be a BNG. We'll still have an iPad with some navigation charts on it. Not sure yet which application we'll use, probably Navionics. And then that's where it kind of differs from what we did in the past. We're going to use a full navigation software on a computer. So we decided to go with Octopus, which is the cruising version of Adrena that is being used by all the top French sailors. So we're going to be using Octopus on the Windows PC at the helm. We're going to use Squid, which is basically a weather grid viewer that you can also do some routing on it. But we will use Octopus for that purpose. And then you have different forecast models that are available depending on your subscription with that. So, and it's integrated with Octopus. So when we want to set some parameters on what we want to download for grid files, we'll do that in Octopus, and it will call directly the Iridium Go, and we'll get the grid files that way. So it'll be pretty integrated and seamless, hopefully. We looked at time zero. We looked at PredictWind. I forgot. Yeah, we used Predict Win on our phones in the first season. So we looked at those, but we decided to go with a combination of octopus and squid. And like I said, we'll do a separate podcast to really explain why we chose that combination as opposed to time zero. And since we'll have a PC on board as a main navigation platform, we'll probably install OpenCPN, and that's an open source application. It's free, so there'll be a backup in case we have an issue with Octopus for whatever reason. OpenCPN is available. It's running on both Mac and Windows and some other platforms. So we'll definitely have this as a backup on our Mac computers. Like I said, so the main reason is we want to, the direction, that's why we're going, the direction we're taking here is we like the fully integrated system. I mean, the Octopus will be connected to the NMEA 2000 network. Like I said, it will be integrated with Squid. Everything it will have our input in the information about the sales we have, the kind of the limits of the sales. So it'll show when we're supposed to change to a different sale and stuff. So that'll be really like one piece of software where everything will be viewable and you can do all your planning in there. So that's like, to us, it's a major advantage. As we've mentioned before, we're not going with a symmetrical spinnaker. We're going with a stay sail, with a Genoa, and some asymmetrical spinnakers. So we really want to sail the boat the way it's intended to be sailed. And so that's where it starts to be interesting to use this type of applications, because now you can sail some angles and go find some wind shifts and stuff like this. So we'll see over time if we continue to sail this way, but it's interesting to us. It's a way to become a better sailor over the years. That's kind of the context for that, but we're going to step back a little bit. Before we dive down into more of the details, I'm going to go over some categories, I guess, or keywords if you want. And so to not get confused, because some apps, it's very clear they just do weather, and some other apps combines weather and maybe weather routing, and some others just do navigation with nautical charts and they do route planning. So I'll try to break it down, so it'll be helpful, I guess, for the rest of this podcast to at least know what we mean when we say we use certain words. So the first category is going to be like weather applications that include different forecast models. Basically, there are mathematical models to predict future conditions. When you're going to look at those apps, you're going to be wanting to look at what forecast model comes with the app or what subscriptions they offer. And based on the subscriptions, what models do you get access to? As a general rule of thumb, it's best to compare different forecast models and so to see if they are mostly in agreement. Then you have a higher level of confidence on the forecast, and then if they differ, then that's when you need to start to wonder. So you're going to be looking at this over time, over a few days before you leave for a passage, for example, to try to attach a level of confidence with the forecast. What's important is also the resolution. So you have higher resolution forecast models. So they offer a lot more details, but it's also for a much smaller area. And if you have to download those files when you're away from land, those files are like much, much bigger. But typically, if you're away from land, then you don't need the higher resolution. So for an offshore passage, you'll kind of blend higher resolution files with lower resolution files. So the departure and the arrival, you'll try to download those higher resolution files. And then for the passage in between, then you can use some lower resolution. And some applications are able to, based on what you download, are able to kind of pick one over the other to give you routing. That will depend also for this forecast model of the geographical area that is where you're at or where you want to go. And then the different models, so some depending offers some better results. So that's something that you can, over time, you can decide what you see fits better for what you want to do. So that's kind of a high-level weather forecast models. Then you have another category, which is like navigation. So those navigation applications, they like Navionics, for example, they offer nautical charts. So you'll download, you'll pay for charts or subscription, and to get access to those nautical charts. And then from there, you can do your route planning and add different waypoints and modify them easily. Navionics has this cool feature where you just enter the starting point, the end point, and then it will calculate the route. And then after that, so it's great to have an initial baseline. How long how many nautical miles? How much time is that going to take? And then of course you want to zoom in and then modify manually those automatic waypoints. Based on how you want to sail. So that's the second category. The third one is weather routing. So it'll take into account weather forecasts, like grid files, and then you can have different parameters, like for example with waves and polars, and it will suggest a route that you can follow, or multiple routes that you can compare. So those are the major categories. So first we're going to talk about coastal sailing, and we are going to make the assumption that weather nowadays is fairly accurate up to 4 days. Granted that there could be local events that happen that are hard to be forecasted, but that's the decision we made in the second season, and it worked well for us to not reactivate the Iridium Go, even if we had it on board. We realized that we were going to do mostly coastal sailing with passages that were going to last maybe 2 days at the most, and that we didn't need to get updated grid files along the route. If you're going to be in that configuration for your sailing season, we're going to kind of talk about what we think is the necessary equipment as an entry level. Nowadays, with basically your smartphone, with a tablet. Side note, if you get an iPad, make sure you get the cellular version. It's more expensive, but bite the bullet and get it the more expensive version, because it will come with the built-in GPS. And yes, you can connect it to an external GPS, but we had the second season, we had some issues. So it's best to get that integrated into the iPad, and maybe get a backup portable GPS that you can put into your ditch bag. And if you ever need to use it, then you can also retrieve it. But that's all the equipment we think is necessary. From a weather point of view, an app like Windy, it's available on iOS, Android, and it's also available in a browser. It's just weather data, but that's also what gives you all the necessary information you will need. The free version comes with forecast for 3 hours, so that's a precision. It comes with standard data, so it's less forecasted models, and there are some limits of 2 updates per day. So it's best to get the subscription for the premium version. Then that time you get the 1 hour forecast. You'll get 4 updates per day, and the cost is relatively cheap. It's $30 if you do a 1-year subscription, but if you sign up for a yearly subscription, it's just $19. So it's definitely the way to go. Also, keep in mind, as you travel from country to country, they'll typically have a national meteorological services. So it might not be in English, but if you ask for help for some local, you might be able to save the link or know in the app and how to get to the information. But that's a good source of information. It's typically free, and they obviously give some fairly accurate weather forecasts. So that's a good complement to weather app you select. And then you have a navigation app like Navionics. There are obviously others. I'm mentioning the apps that are the most commonly used among cruisers. Navionics is available on iOS, Android, and you pay for the nautical charts from your cruising area. So it's the price varies, but it's basically from $25 to like $55. It has the route planning option, which is very user-friendly. And then you have chart layers for depth, for sonar. And you also have some basic weather forecasts up to 3 days, but it's best to get a dedicated weather app. So with that, you would be set. At an additional, as a next level, you could add an app like PredictWind or Squid, because then it will offer some weather forecast models with also some routing options. So PredictWind is widely used, I think, across the world, but in Europe and especially in France, since we were there this summer, like a lot of people use Squid. And they both provide a similar type of information. PredictWind is available on iOS, Android, macOS, Windows, and your browser. Squid is available on the same platform. I don't think they have a browser version. They both have a free version, but it doesn't come with weather routing. And then if you want to get the weather routing option, so like for PredictWind, just to give you an idea of prices, you can sign up for 3 months with a standard version for $99. If you want to sign for the year, it's like $250. And if you want to get the pro version, it'll be like $250 for 3 months and $500 per year. So you can decide if you think it's worth for you to get this additional help or not. Squid is definitely an application that is worth looking into. It offers a lot of features, and the prices are pretty competitive compared to PredictWind. So if you want to get the weather routing option, you'll select what geographical area you're in. For example, so if you're in Europe in general and you want some high resolution forecast models, you could sign up for a month and it will be $11, or like a year and it will be $38. If you are in the Med specifically, in the Mediterranean Sea, 1 month will cost you $22. A year will be $78. Caribbean's, same thing. A month is $11. A year, $38. You can also get like a full-blown satellite plus like the world forecast models. For 1 month, it will be $78. For 1 full year, it will be $333. So definitely worth looking at this application. Pretty competitively priced and offers some very, very specific high-resolution forecast models based on some different geographies. For coastal sailing, that's all you would need. Now, if you're going to do some offshore sailing, and let's say you're going to be away from shore for more than 3 days, then it's you need to start to consider adding some additional equipment. The basic one that most boats use is Iridium Go. So just to explain at a high level what Iridium Go is, it's basically a company called Iridium, and you can go on the website iridium.com, and then they have different products. But the Iridium Go device is the one that, mostly used by cruisers, and it needs 4 components to work. So you have the Iridium satellite network. So in order to communicate with the Iridium satellite network, you need that device, the Iridium Go device. Then you need a smartphone or a tablet like iOS or Android in order to connect to that Iridium Go device. And on that tablet or smartphone, you need to install applications. So those are the 4 components in order to get that satellite connection and receive the data you need. You can connect up to 5 devices to that one Iridium Go device. The Iridium Go is, like I said, it's manufactured by Iridium, but it's being sold by many partners around the world. The one that cruisers gravitate to is PredictWind, because they offer also the PredictWind app. So I'll give you those prices as a reference, but you can also shop around. So the base unit for Iridium Go is $900. If you want to get a marine package, so in order to do a fixed installation, so that would mean you will put an antenna outside your salon. So that will be about $1,200. Once you have the unit, what you need is that unit needs to talk to the satellites. And in order to do that, then you need to subscribe to an airtime plan if you want. Again, you can buy those airtime plans from different resellers. Here I'm going to give you the PredictWind airtime plans. But the first season, we ended up choosing some local vendor. They all package it slightly differently. So if you want to really shop around, you can. But those are the prices as a baseline from PredictWind. So you have a Go Basic, you have a Plus, and you have an unlimited version. If you're going to do coastal cruising, you will need at least the Go Plus. So that will cost you $105 per month. The activation fee is free, but you will need to buy an Iridium SIM card for $10. And what's important to keep in mind is you can activate and deactivate the Iridium Go, but every time you deactivate it, that Iridium SIM card cannot be reused. So it's best to have a couple of Iridium SIM cards on hand, because if you need to try to find them as you cruise or get them shipped, it's going to be complicated. So buy a few of those SIM cards, and then you can deactivate the service once you don't need it. So I was talking about the Go Plus, what it will give you. So there is like data, you have calls and SMS. And so on the data side, the Go Plus is going to give you 150 minutes. So that'll be combined voice plus data. And then if you need more data after that, it's going to cost you 29 cents per minute. So after the 150-minute bundle expires. With Iridium Go, you can make some calls. And so for inbound calls, it's going to be free to you. But the calls to the Iridium Go are going to be charged to the caller at rates of the local provider. And then if you want to make calls, outbound calls, it's going to cost you $1.09 per minute if you call the landline or cellular or leave a voicemail. If you call another Iridium phone, it's going to cost you less. It will be 65 cents per minute. And then if you call some other satellite's phone, it'll be quite expensive. It'll be $10.49 per minute. You can also send and receive SMS. For this plan, inbound and outbound SMS are free. That's included in it. So if you're going to do coastal cruising, that's probably a good airtime plan to look at. If you're going to do some ocean crossing, you definitely need to go with Go Unlimited. It'll cost you $140 per month. You'll get, with this Go Unlimited, 150 minutes of voice, and then you'll get unlimited data minutes. So that's quite important, because if you want to download a lot of grip files, then you can just download as many as you want. So all the data minutes, that's basically weather download, that's email, this type of content. For the inbound calls, same thing, it's free to you. For outbound, it's the same price as the Go Plus plan. And for SMS, they are free. You can also send and receive as many SMS as you want. So you got the device, the Iridium Go. You got your airtime plan that you subscribe to. And the next step is to add apps and connect them to Iridium Go. So the basic one is going to be the Iridium Go app. It's the vendor is Iridium. It's available on iOS, Android. And from this app, you'll be able to connect to Iridium Go and do the voice calling we were talking about using your smartphone or your tablet. You'll be able to send SMS, text messages from there. You have some other option also. You have or features. You have an SOS alert. You can activate emergency SOS. You have some GPS tracking, GPS location. You can send quick GPS information. And obviously, you can download weather forecast. So that's definitely the base app to install. You have another one that is provided by Iridium, and that's Iridium Go Mail. So you'll be able to compose emails offline, and then you can queue them. And then when you connect to Iridium Go, they're being sent. And you can also access weather forecast models, also grip files that you request through email. So another app that you definitely need to install. If you're going to use PredictWind, you'll need to download the Offshore app. So that is available on iOS, Android. You can also get it on macOS and Windows. And they'll give you weather data, including grip files, weather routing, departure planning. It'll give you some satellite imagery and stuff like this. There is another app that we haven't used called BySky Online Chat. So if you wanted to chat with another individual or do a group chat, you could download this app and have it connected to Iridium Go. Next piece of equipment that you could consider, and that's the direction that we're taking, is to have a computer on board, a dedicated computer for the whole navigation planning that you want to do. So what's important to keep in mind for a computer is it's best to have a computer with an SSD drive, like a solid state drive. It's better than a hard drive because there are moving parts with a hard drive. Also better to have a computer that doesn't have a fan. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive as you go into warm places, but the fan will bring salty and humid air through the computer and all the electronic parts, and it won't last as long. The monitor, something we all want bigger and bigger monitors. Something just to keep in mind is the power consumption. The bigger the monitor is, the computer will allow you to do is to run applications like Octopus or Time Zero that I talked about earlier. So at this point, you get a really full integration between the weather, the forecast models, the navigation, the routing. It connects also to your boat data, and so through the network. You don't have to go to your weather app, and you don't have to go to like the navigation app, and everything is in one location. And so that's compelling to us. Most applications are on Windows only. There are some applications that are available on Mac. If you want to check it out, that would be SquidX or LuckGrib. They don't offer as many features as applications like Time Zero and Octopus, so it's a choice. If you have a Mac, you have some options. You can install a parallel desktop. And what it will do is it's basically hardware virtualization for Macintosh computers. So you're able to run Windows applications on it. Keep in mind that standard version is $99 and the Pro Edition is $120 per year. It might also not always be reliable. Heard different stories about this. So the other route that is free, it's Boot Camp. So if you have a Mac computer, it's already installed on it. You'll need to set it up. And then what it does is it transforms your Mac computer into a Windows computer. The only drawback is you will have to basically restart your computer. You can start it with Mac OS, or you can start it with Windows. So that might be a little inconvenient to you, but those are the options. And the last option that most boats nowadays come with will have one chart plotter, but I think a lot of boats also now bypass the chart plotter. We are having one that will be in the cockpit. We're okay to have it as redundancy. We'll have a BNG chart plotter. It'll give us another version of charts that we can cross-check with other application. You can do some simple route planning with waypoints, but it's just not user-friendly compared to apps or computer. It's great because it's connected to the boat network, so you see all the data on the network, and obviously you don't have any weather information on that, but you get your AIS, you get your radar information. So those are the hardware, the pieces of equipment you can add based on your cruising plans. So the navigation software, I'll talk a little bit about this in a subsequent podcast, where I'll go more into details about Squid and Octopus, and that's why we chose those applications over Time Zero, over Predict Wind. For the podcast today, some of the data, I'll create a blog. And so if you go check sailingawen.com, you can go retrieve that information. Feel free to send us questions at sailingawen@gmail.com. If you like this podcast and you want others to be able to easily find it, the best way is to give a rating and your preferred podcast applications. Give us 5 stars, and then they'll put the podcast up and for other cruisers to find. Thank you very much. Next podcast, hopefully I'll get Holly back, since we'll be together again, and it'll be a little bit more fun to have a dialogue around different topics we want to cover, as opposed to me talking to myself in front of a computer. But that's it. Bon vent.
Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, like, or share with another covert castaway. Fair winds for now.